miscarriage, a good ride. We got the green light now, let's go. There's nothing left to decide. All our foolish fears we left behind us with friends. We'll catch back up with them when the world comes to an end. And you don't need no condemnation to pass. The old ways were both one foot in the grave, they were never meant to last. And now we've got a new enzyme. We sail the seven seas until the end of time. We're headed to a storm. It's plain for all to see. They are the masters of their ship, but not their destiny. And you don't need no spaceship ticket to go. They'll file into their junk rooms until the gold mine begins to flow.
In a cemetery called the Chongo Cemetery, and that's very interesting because the skull number 176, written on its forehead, again with a magic marker, is the word Chongo. And in Spanish that means monkey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very bizarre, and all I can think of is that that's just a derogatory name that was given to them back then. Oh, it's a monkey. I mean, even though they don't look like a monkey. They didn't, whoever wrote that didn't think it was a monkey, obviously, but I think it was just derogatory. And so suddenly this cemetery, its official name cannot be Chongo, but that's what it's called. But anyway, so we went down there, and I went to the museo, and it was closed, because of the storm and the damages to the storm, which was less than 2 weeks before we arrived there, and I didn't know anything about it, and my conspiracy, alarm went off like, oh, they knew I was coming down here, and my hopes were just dashed. I was just like, I tried, kept a strong countenance. I was with two crew members that I took down there. But anyway, we went back to the Cocopelli, which is a hostel. They call them backpacks now. Just all these young, beautiful, beautiful people. All these chicks at the pool. Just, I could go on and on about that.
I bet.
Yeah, man. And then they have games every night, Twister and all this stuff. And you're just out here with all these chicks from other countries and stuff, just chilling. And then, get this, man, the guy who was the security guy, he was also the cocaine dealer.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and so we're talking, Peru, it supplies 93% of the world's cocaine, so you can imagine it was some pretty good shit,
Yeah, it's not stepped on. That's the
right,
good.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how much you get for like $5.
Right. No. Yeah. I hear.
But anyway, I was kind of lamenting. The guys were at the bar, partying up, playing the games and stuff like this, and I found myself in the lobby, and they had a nighttime security guy there, and he's like, hey, he was real friendly. He asked me how I was going and everything, and I started talking to him, and then somehow I just thought he was a cool guy, so I just, not that there was any secret or anything, but I was letting him know, lamenting a little bit about my, troubles. We'd come all the way down halfway across the world to see these elongated skulls, and the Frank, Navarro Museum was closed because of the storm. He said, oh, yeah, it was a big storm. And then he asked me, I don't remember what he asked me, but we already had the conversation going. And he didn't act like he was revealing any big thing to me. He's like, yeah, I got hired to run the crew that moved those.
Wow.
And people down there just, they don't lie, like people here. I don't know how else to put it.
Right.
And so he was, instead of bragging about the skulls, I think he was more or less bragging about that, that he was chosen to be the leader of these, workmen, There, of
Mm.
course, I guess, some type of experts, running it. But what had
Mm-hmm.
happened was this. They had to move the skulls because of the storm. They moved them to Ica, I-C-A. Not Inca, which is I-N-C-A, which is, a word we know for the Inca people. But Ica, I-C-A, which in that region, which is be like a state, where Paracas is, and also where Nazca is, the world famous Nazca lines,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is in the district, and I think it actually might be the Ica district, but the city that's the capital of that district is Ica. And he said that they moved all the skulls down there. And I started showing some real interest, and so he started telling me the whole story. They took those skulls down there, and there's usually like 42 of these skulls at this Frank Navarro Museum, and I'm sure they're there right now. And people will be looking at them tomorrow. Not very many people, just tourists and stuff. But they took those 42 skulls down there to Ica.
Yeah, so hopefully,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, hopefully, with having a connection like him, you was able to get like more of a hands-on, or maybe you got to experience them better than what you had maybe imagined at the beginning.
Well, I would have liked to have been like that, or use some connections. And we went down there fully prepared to bribe officials.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem with that. And if we need to give money to your campaign, or there's a local arts festival or something, we want to be contributing to this art festival.
Sure.
And if you can see that the money goes in the right place, we'll just hand it right over to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but unfortunately, we didn't get that opportunity. But what he did give me is a story. So this, of course, is just hearsay. But I guarantee you, this is fucking true. They took those 42 skulls down there, and they got let in the gate or whatever. And the museum that I went and saw the skulls in, there's a building behind it. And this building is about 20 feet high and about a block long. It's a long building. And he said they put those skulls in there for temporary keeping, and they pulled in there, and that building is full of elongated skulls from the floor all the way up to the ceiling.
Holy shit!
A block, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of elongated skulls.
Wow.
And I was right there with them, just in the next building.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is, man.
I don't think I realized there was that many,
There really was, because I'm going to tell you something right now that might blow your mind. You know about the Nazca lines, right?
Right, and I think I just seen an article they just discovered one or two more that's new, but maybe not.
Elongated skulls?
No, the Nazca Lions.
Oh, yeah, no, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But all I was going to say about that is the Nazca lines really should not be called the Nazca lines. They should be called the Paracas lines, or they should be named after the Paracas people, because the people with the elongated skulls is who made those lines.
Mm.
The Nazca people came and butchered the Paracas people, drove them out, slaughtered them down, decimated them down to the almost nothing, and the Paracas people ran and hightailed it to Paracas, and that's why they're called the Paracas people. And from there, they were exterminated even further until they were completely extinct.
Mm.
Or so we're told.
Right. Anybody that wins, anybody that's victorious through history, they get all the credit. They write history, and they're known for it. So it kind of doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, yeah, there is that aspect to it, Sean. But let's say whatever, your tribe went against my tribe, and you decimated us, and we hightailed it. It would just end right there, because you're a human and I'm a human. Your tribe is human and my tribe is human. These are not humans.
Oh, absolutely not.
I have, you and me, we have 3 plates on the top of our head. The scientific name for this front plate is the frontal plate. Go figure. But in the back of your head, you have your left occipital plate and your right occipital plate. So we have 3 plates. They just have 2, a front and back. So the entire morphology of their skull is completely different. Not only that, they have a very robust jawbone. I mean, their jawbone if you hit them in the jaw, it would break your hand for sure. I mean,
Wow.
they got a jawbone like that. And one of the most striking things, and these are all things, no one has told me this. These are all observations that I came up with on my own. Their eyes are different. Their eye sockets. Because you and me, and truthfully, you and me could damn near pass for cousins. But human skulls, we think of their eye sockets as being round. But really, if you look at them, they're more like an upside down triangle.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking about your skull and my skull. And our eye sockets are actually very deep within our skull.
Mm.
You know, they're very deep. They're upside down triangular, and they're a certain size. With the Paracas people, they of course they have the two plates on top of their head instead of one, and plus a huge hole at the top, which they surmise is for spinal fluid or mostly blood to go through there. Because if you've got such a big damn head, you're going to need extra blood going to it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got these huge ass fucking jaws, but these eye sockets that I'm talking about, they're round. Ours aren't round. Theirs are round, and they're bigger than ours, and they're shallower than ours.
Mm.
So whereas we have an eyeball that's actually like a ball, theirs has to be more of like two contact lenses put back to back or something.
Totally different.
Yeah. So now that you know that information, when you go back and look at some of these pictures of elongated skulls, you can notice those,
No, absolutely.
distinctions for yourself. So.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna pull up that one skull you was talking about. When I edit this, just to put a picture to what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, skull 176. Oh, let me tell you this, and I really can't believe this. I'm the first one I ever know of that's ever said this, proposed this, or has found this out, and I know this for sure. In the museum, they have murals on the wall that has artist depictions of how these skulls became big, and it's with cradle boarding. You know what cradle boarding is, right?
I was waiting to bring that up. Yeah, there's no way that's possible.
No, because there's no amount of cradle boarding is going to increase the volume of your head.
That's right.
It's not going to make it any bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But to downplay everything, they give this official story that's just a bunch of bullshit. But another thing they do is they have skull number 176, and it is bigger than your skull, and it's bigger than my skull. I mean, it's a pretty big skull. You know what I mean? It's not like that much bigger. I bet it's bigger for sure.
I'm sorry.
It's a female skull.
Ah.
It's a female skull, and we know that in humans, generally, a male skull is bigger than a female skull. But in truth, really not too much. I mean, if the man's bigger than the woman, yeah, that's going to be bigger and everything. But even like a real tall guy, big guy, and a real short girl, truthfully, their skulls are relatively the same size in the Homo sapiens species. This other species, the Paracas people, what some people are calling the Homo capensis species, the male's head is about twice the size of the female's head.
Holy shit.
So a male's head, Paracas people, they've got one. Brian Forrester is showing one now, and he's one of the world's top experts on elongated skulls. Brian Forrester. It looks like it's spelled Brian, like maybe Brien, but it's pronounced Brian. The latest skull he's showing is 21 inches long. I mean, that's from the back of your head to the chin, 21 inches. I mean,
Wow.
they're
Yeah,
not humans. They're not humans.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, some people, think giants are, a bunch of rubbish, but there's no way those could be mistaken for the giants from the past. I mean, that's a total different.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I really am, because giants happens to be a huge topic with me. And I was thinking, say, God damn it, Sean, what do you want this thing to last all night? You're bringing up all my, favorite topics. But no, you're absolutely right. The elongated skull people and giants are not the same thing.
Yeah.
But another weird thing about it, and in that museum, there's more than one kind. There's elongated head people, and then there's regular people, and then there's like stuff in between that's neither. That blew me away. I mean, I thought I was going to compare two things, but like there was these ones that their head was not elongated, but it was a lot bigger. But I mean, the jawbone was real robust, like an elongated head. But I mean, it was basically a normal human-looking skull, but big. Maybe that was a giant. I don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
you know Argentina, what the original name of the country Argentina is, right?
No. Mm.
Well, there's a famous place they make ski jackets and stuff like that called Patagonia. Have you heard of them?
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Patagonia. That's where most people know the name Patagonia. But
Mm-hmm.
Patagonia is the name for the country of Argentina, where before it got changed to Argentina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Patagonia is comes from it's from a Latin. You know what it means?
What's that?
Land of the giants.
Ah. Mm.
Now you see why they had to change the name of the country.
Right. Absolutely. You got to get rid of that. You know, it's proven that the Smithsonian's in the late 1800s. I mean, there's even newspaper articles. You can go to the archives and see that these giants were popping up all over North America. I mean, we can look at that. It's the snake where it's, you know, I think
The Ohio mounds.
that's right. That's right. Where it's eating the egg, or the egg is at the mouth, and kind of like the lines that we were discussing earlier. It can only be seen, you know, built from being so tall or from flying over. But these giants were being found, and then the Smithsonian was buying all this up. And then, you know, who knows what they're doing with the bones or whatever. They might be under the Smithsonian or whatever. But we do know that they were buying these giants and hiding them. You know,
Yeah,
they don't
they
want people
still
to know
are.
that.
I heard one
Now,
report that they put them on ships, go out in the ocean, and just push them over the edge.
that's insane.
Isn't
That's
it?
insane.
Can you imagine that being your job, erasing history?
I don't think I could do that. You know, I don't think I could do
The only
that.
reason I would do it is just to do an expose.
Right, blow the whistle on that. You know, now I'm okay with people exposing stuff like that, you know, but like some of the shit these people be doing out here is crazy.
It's amazing, you know. But and check out this little. I mean, it was so anecdotal that you know brought up first the giants, but then you brought up the you know the mound and everything. But there was when it really got freaky and psychic is when you brought up the Smithsonian, because there's a few things that I didn't tell you about my great uncle that you know it's like. And of course, nobody refutes this because none of it's secret. Anybody can look this shit up on the internet.
Mm.
But my great uncle, the first George Bush ran against him. George Bush Jr. ran against him, and he didn't win. But that was, I think, the only loss he ever had. But that was kind of the signal to George Bush. It was time for him to stop down. I mean, he was old anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He was a congressional leader for over 40 years. But he did retire. And I've often wondered what he did after he retired, and so I did some digging into it and some looking, and I found it. Guess what he did after he retired?
Work for the Smithsonian?
On the board of directors.
Wow. That's
Board
amazing.
of directors for the Smithsonian, you know. After you make the dumb military, I mean, if they got all this secret shit, why let you know, just give it all to one guy, you know? I mean,
Sure, might as well.
You know, he's our guy, you know, he's not gonna talk.
Dude, that's bad. I bet the stories when you was, I mean, you did meet him in your life, huh? I mean,
yeah, met him one time. My parents drove us, we drove. I think we drove up to Washington D.C. So it was a family vacation, and I think to this day you can still meet your congressman. You know, if at a certain time, even like while the Congress is in, you can go in there and you can meet the congressman from Louisiana, and you can also have your picture taken with him. Right. Mm-hmm. And he has his own full-time photographer, or it may be he shares this photographer with several other congressmen. But there's lots of people there that work full-time just taking pictures of constituents with their congressmen. Right. And so that's what we did. And it was a little bit interesting looking back on it. We got separated from our parents.
Oh, wow.
And so we went into the room, and what I remember is me and my little brother, 2.5 years younger than me, getting our pictures made with Uncle George. And at one point, or actually from the whole thing, he put us on his desk. So we were standing on the desk, and he was standing behind us, and he's a tall guy, so we were all about the same size, you know what I mean? Because we're standing on his desk. I'm like, 8 years old at the youngest. My brother's probably 5.5, 6 years old. Well, the photographer was taking pictures, and it was a flash, the old kind of flash style cameras like that really mesmerize you. And I do have other stories, that I'll relate to you at some point about flashes of light, because that's a whole other subject in itself. But several weeks later, we did get home, and my mom came and told me one time, she said, "Oh, you're in trouble. You're in so much trouble. Wait till your dad gets home." And I'm like, "What?" And then she said that something about the pictures had come in from Washington, D.C. As soon as she said that, I knew I was busted. I knew my ass was grass, because I had guilt, because I knew what I had done.
What was that?
During one of the pictures, while we were having our picture taken with George Mahon, I don't know what came over me or whatever, thought I'd maybe just be cool, but I decided to flash the peace sign.
Oh,
the hippie sign.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, maybe an act of rebellion or something like that, until decades later when I found out what that sign really means. This is a sign. This is a sign of the Illuminati.
Right.
So I instinctively threw up the sign while I'm getting my picture made with my great uncle. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, that's one of those cosmic alliance things right there.
Yeah, it's like a fucking wake up call in reverse, or wake up here, wake up, 10 years later. There's this is mentioned in my book, and I really can't say too much about it, but there's more than one reason why I know more about basically my great uncle than other family members, and that's because a man hand delivered a letter to me when I was 21 years old.
Oh wow!
And I was told that there was something in it, kind of like a curse or whatever, like magic or whatever, that if I told what's in the letter, then it wouldn't come true for me, And what it was is a choice, that basically I had a choice. If I did, you do X, Y, Z, you're this is gonna happen, something else, this is gonna happen. And the guy who delivered it to me was an old man, probably retired or something. He was a killer, for sure. I mean, I don't know if he's ex-FBI or whatever, but man, this is not the kind of guy you fuck with. And he had me read it, and then he had me read it again, and then he had me read it again a third time, and he asked me if I understood everything in it, and then he burned it.
Oh wow!
Right there in front of me.
That's awesome.
I don't even think I don't know if he knew it was in the letter. I don't really think he did, but then again, he knew the kind of people he was working for and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then as most of my listeners know, I am in a secret society, and so there's some questions about this, And one thing I was going to interject when you and me were talking earlier about the Denver trip. I didn't go to see the petroglyphs in Moab, Utah. I went on a romantic type of deal with a girl who lives in Denver. And then, a couple weeks into it, she found out her father's, stuff was over her, she had to go get a bunch of stuff in Utah, not in Moab, but even further north than that. And the time she had to get it was on the same weekend of our trip.
Oh wow!
And so she thought I was going to cancel on her. Of course, I said no. It'll be great. I'm going to help you, and all this stuff. Okay, in this time or before that, we learned more like I learned, because I'm pretty sure now that she already knew. She's in the order.
Okay.
She's a sister. She's in the order. We somehow discovered it after we had become friends and started talking romantically. And then this deal came up, about her, having to get her dad's stuff or whatever. And then it turns out I agreed to go with her and everything like that. And by this time we were already, sending each other naked pictures of each other and stuff, talking, crazy shit.
Right.
So I was pretty certain I was gonna score. But anyway,
absolutely.
My truck broke down like about a week and a half, or like 2 weeks before it, something like that. And I had to spend a lot of money to get my truck fixed. And guess what? I didn't have any money to go to Moab, Utah. And I was very torn up inside, very embarrassed and everything, to have to call this beautiful, beautiful lady sister, who I was basically already romantically involved with, just through whatever you want to call it, sexting or whatever.
Right.
And to tell her and apologize. Now I had already bought my ticket. She that was 2 weeks before that. So a month before the trip, I bought my ticket. She found a great deal for me. I think it's like $175 round trip. I bought the tickets. I showed her, sent her, just a picture of it, just so she'd know everything was legit or whatever. But
Right.
but one reason I got such a great deal on it is because there were stipulations on this ticket, no refunds. Just a picture of it, just so she'd know everything was legit or whatever. But but one reason I got such a great deal on it is because there were stipulations on this ticket, no refunds. No refunds on this ticket. So I already knew right there I was eating that $175. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to be able to go now. But as you
Right.
know, I did go, and so now here's the rest of the story. I called her up to tell her that, and without any hesitation, she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll pay for everything."
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe I'm a big stud muffin, or maybe there's something else to the story.
sure.
Because I did end up going to Moab. I told her, that I don't never go to travel or whatever unless I, try to look at some ancient site or, pyramid or something. And so I found this Moab, and so we decided, we were going to be there one day or a day and a half, something like that. But anyway, on the way up there, on the way up to Moab and on the way back, I met this guy twice. One of the most powerful sorcerers probably in North America. And I had never heard of him before. It's not like this guy's famous. But once I found out who he was, and he's brother such and such, I'm not going to put his name out there. But yeah, he's high up. And he's a priest. When you get to certain levels, these priests and priestesses, it's almost like they're rock stars, traveling around different places because they do the roles in these rituals we have. And see, we've got a public ritual called the Gnostic Mass. I can tell you about that. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time on it. But basically, you got people dressing up like Egyptians, and then there's some stuff that kind of reminds you of church, and then you take a Eucharist, just like in church, you eat the bread and you drink the wine or whatever. And then you say, there is no part of me that is not of the gods. While you have your deal, and you say, to everybody while you have your hands like that. But, you're just dressed in normal street clothes or whatever. The people that are hosting it or whatever, it's like a play. They're basically, that's most of what the occult is these rituals that are like plays. People have lines, they say this, and it's they're actually very profound though. I mean, it's like a earth-shattering experience. But so anyway, this guy was a big time in the order. Well, basically, I'm just to cut this short, and I'm not going to give that many details or whatever. They tried to pull a ritual on me, brother.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to put a ritual on me, man, for real. And
is that common for I guess it is to do on to others.
No, because you do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Right.
You're supposed to be in charge of everything you do. It's all about freedom of the individual. So
right.
Probably I would have to say there's another reason of mine. They might not have even broken any rules because it's all. As long as they tell you what they're doing, and they didn't tell me what they're doing. Basically, what happens is we tripped on mushrooms,
right?
And then he left, but he had already had a talk with her. He had started the movie beforehand. They wanted me to watch this movie, dude.
Right.
And I'll put the name up. I can't actually remember the name. It's something Life or whatever. But you remember that movie with Woody Harrelson and Keanu Reeves and the guy who plays Iron Man?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like weird. It's like a cartoon movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like they filmed it, but then they put some weird Photoshop deal on it where the whole movie was like a cartoon. But you could tell it really was filmed, but they had turned it into a cartoon. That was some kind of popular technology that came out at the time of this movie. This movie is the very first one that did it. Well, somebody else made another movie even way freakier using that same technology. And so,
I see.
We could look that up real easy. And the movie's real dark, real mysterious, and real creepy. And the one that I was looking at, the version that I was looking at, and I think it was actually the same version that anyone else would see. But my psychics, one psychic in particular was telling me that there's basically subliminal messaging and stuff that they were trying to subject me to.
Right.
And but I didn't. I refused to watch the movie.
Right.
I mean, I outright refused because I knew what it was, and mushrooms. I was tripping balls.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, this is some good shit, and I ate a lot of it. And the thing is, yeah, you could maybe get a little paranoid if you're tripping balls. But I mean, as you know, shrooms is not a paranoid type, drug.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
There's something was up, man, and she kept. I went to the other room. She kept coming back there and trying to get me to come. Oh, why don't you just watch the movie? All these reasons why I should go in there and watch the movie with her.
Right.
I even went back. I even did go back for a little while and watch the movie for a few minutes, and then I was like, "Oh my god!" And I mean, I got up and I walked out again.
Mm-hmm.
And then anyway, but I might have come back, or she dragged me back there one more time, or when maybe before I said I was going to go back there, I told her I was, and she came over to my side of the couch, very nicely, very politely, and let me know from that moment on that me and her were friends. We're friends.
Right.
We're friends. You can talk to me about anything. We're friends, but we're no longer lovers.
Right. Trying to get you to watch that movie.
Well, no. Yeah, I could have probably said, no, wait, here, take off your clothes. Yeah, and yeah, I guarantee you, she would have done anything.
Right.
But she already knew that was my resolve. No, you're probably right. She wasn't just cutting it off. She was giving me a chance to, save the fumble or whatever. But I didn't, right. And the timing was. I mean, we know what it is, dude. It just doesn't take. That was my punishment for not watching the movie.
Hey, but it's probably I'd probably take that punishment any day versus what probably might have happened with the programming.
Exactly, dude. Because you just don't know what it is. And the thing is, even from talking to Christopher S. Jacobs, who's one of my main psychics that I have on my show every month.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a lot of ET extraterrestrial experience, and he's been, through all this shit. And they don't need to have a secret computer or to encode some shit in it. These archons control the airwaves. They control radio waves. They control the electricity going in your house. Mm-hmm. They can put, and they do put waves and stuff in our electricity to do that to us. But humans do that. But I mean, if they want to have a special project like this or something, they don't need that. They can just be hovering out there with their UFO and put that shit straight in the program or whatever.
Right. Voice to scroll or something.
Well, yeah. Well, humans can do that too. That shit's all real.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there's no argument about it. I mean, it's just all they've had scientific studies of people have invented it, have talked about it. It's just a known deal, But yeah, so they tried to throw a ritual on me, but I didn't go for it.
So talking about mushrooms or whatnot, and it's funny, some people want to discredit you maybe because you was on some sort of hallucinogen or things like that, but I've taken my fair share of hallucinogens, and I've always found myself not to be the one that trips out and acts all goofy, but more is in a more meditative state, more like surfing the cosmos, let's say, or whatever, looking for answers and whatnot.
Yeah, that's the shaman in you, speaking out.
Right. Yeah, I'd rather do my thing, be real quiet, and just, think, some say opening your third eye or whatever, but, so, I like doing music festivals. I used to party a lot when I was younger, I was maybe 13 years old, 14 years old, sneaking out of my parents' house in Houston, going to my first rave. I'm 33 years old. So, I've spent half my life, partying and things. So nowadays, especially since my first wife, my older two kids, mother passed away 8 years ago, I got to be more of the mature adult and more of the responsible parent. So now I like to escape every once in a while, go to these music festivals. Dude. I think one of the most, I don't know, you call it ironic or most memorable times of my life. This is an awesome time. So I'm in New Orleans. It's me and a good friend of mine, and we're in New Orleans, and it's I don't know. I don't really want to say that. Fuck it. It's Buku Festival. I'll edit this out. It's Buku Festival. You know, I don't like blowing the whistle on shit. I'm not that guy. You know, I like to share my experience, but I'm not here to like point fingers or nothing. So
Well, I'm glad you told me that, because when I publish my version of this, I'll blank that out.
Please do. Yeah, I don't. You know,
I mean, the sound will go away for just a second.
Right.
I mean, a lip reader could probably still see what you're saying, but I mean, if you're
Sure.
cool with that, you know. If
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
I'll put a little something where they can't see you say it or whatever.
Right.
It's
So-
a festival.
Yeah. So, you know, I usually go on my own goodie, because who knows what's at a festival. You know, I listened to an interview a while back with you and Brandon Young, and he was talking about a doctor that maybe used some toad extract and some synthetic this and some synthetic that, and that they were giving these vape pens to people, and they died or whatever. I forget the doctor's name, but I did look it up, and you can Google it, and everything that Brandon said was 100% accurate. I mean, like I mentioned to you before in emails, I 100% believe what you show on your channel, you know, and the information that you give. I 100% believe it. You know, a lot of people might find it far-fetched. A lot of my people think it's 100% bogus, but they're just the dumbasses that don't know how to look at information, you know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
absolutely right.
so
Especially taking everything into consideration, like my MO and stuff like that, you know, and just
Yeah, 100%. And not to be like, you know, I don't want to seem like a liar or like the guy that just adds to a story to be cool. But supposedly, my ex-mother-in-law, she lives in Port Arthur, and supposedly she just joined. But you know, she didn't really tell me too much.
just joined what?
The same brotherhood as you, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh well, yeah. No, I'm not saying anything bad about it. You know, I love the brothers and sisters. I love the organization. And I mention it from time to time by name, since I just kind of shared that about that. That was not the organization. That was the brother. That was two people in the organization.
Right.
That had nothing to do with the organization.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With the order. That's what I call it, the order.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool that your aunt got involved in that.
Ex-mother-in-law.
Now,
Yeah, she said that was something she's been wanting to do. You know, I don't really know. She knows that I like researching the topic. You know, I've always found, you know, I was just a boy growing up in a Catholic home. Went to regular school, but you know that shit was forced down on me. So you know that's really all I know, except for the information I've ventured out to find on my own. You know, I just find everything fascinating. You know, to know that there's so much more in this world or in this cosmos that a lot of people aren't even aware of. You know, I find things fascinating.
I know it, brother, and especially some of the information that you've been exposing yourself to recently, and that's the Tim Ripat.
Oh, that Tim Ripat. That stuff is, you know, if I had an extra $10,000 laying around and then a couple grand to go, you know, visit with him for a day or two, I sure as hell would get that technology, you know.
I know it, and you know what? God dang, here in a few days, I would be able to. I don't think I'm gonna. Listen. I'm gonna try to make a show with Duncan, the Great Keeper.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's going to be real interesting, you know, because you're going to be able to bring these aspects that, you know, and I've listened to, like, what is it, CW Chanter or whatever. I've listened to him, like, with your interview, talking about Miles, and Miles probably knows a lot more than he wants to portray, you know, but I think you're going to be able to ask these questions that haven't been asked yet, and I'm really going to be looking forward.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, and Miles, yeah, he knows a lot more than what he says, but and he does have he has a really good way of asking questions. He is pretty assertive, but he'll also say things that won't offend you. I can't think of an exact, but like even when he was questioning me on Basis 67, you know, in case your reviewers don't know, if they want to see me on the Basis Project, it's Basis 67. Right. And I have real long hair, so you know you might not like immediately like put it together, but I had long hair on that. I actually filmed it. That was okay. Basis 67 was like July. It was right before Max Spears died, I think, or no. It was right after Max. Anyway, it was like July of last year.